Hi, scientists. It's Mrs. Knight, and today's lesson is about weathering and erosion. The big question of the unit, let's not forget, is how can things that happen on Earth change the land? Today is day 158 in Unit 2, Landforms. How does water affect landforms? The guiding question for this lesson, how can people protect rock sculptures? Our learning intention, students will explore the importance of protecting rock landforms. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe how water changes the landforms like the Grand Canyon in the US and Wave Rock of Perth in Australia. You will compare erosion of rocks in nature's elements of sun, wind, rain, and snow. You will analyze rock sculptures like Mount Rushmore to determine how to keep the sculpture. In yesterday's lessons, you explored weathering and erosion problems, features of landscapes, and how people have to go up to the faces of places like Mount Rushmore to help maintain them or to keep the rock from changing due to natural processes. Remember to come back to this slide and review the rest of what you've learned. And I just want to reread for you page 7 of the student journal. As Logan gets closer, he notices two specks on a president's face that seem to be moving. When he looks through binoculars, he sees that they are people. One person is hanging from ropes. The ropes hold the person in place while he moves across the face. What in the world are they doing up there, Logan wonders. This reminds me of the conversations we had in yesterday's lesson. Keep those in mind as we look at more natural rock sculptures. So let's explore. Weathering and erosion by water plays a role in creating the unique shapes that form the Grand Canyon in the United States of America and Wave Rock of Perth in Australia, as pictured in these images. Turn to a partner and describe what you notice about each picture, and think about two questions you have about the landforms pictured in the following images. If you click this link, you will be brought to a Google search of these images. Look at these images. Read the captions. Where are these rock sculptures? And how did they come to be? Talk about it with a partner. It possibly took millions of years for water to change these landforms. The Grand Canyon is a national park in northern Arizona in the United States. Water carved the rock into a canyon over millions of years. Let's take a look.
You know, nature can create some pretty amazing stuff. We've got waterfalls and mountains and beaches and canyons. A canyon is a deep gorge or gully in the earth. It usually has steep walls, and most of the time there's a river flowing at the bottom of it. And one of the biggest canyons in the world is in the southwestern United States, the Grand Canyon in Arizona. So how did this giant groove in the earth get there? You can see the secret in this picture. Do you notice anything besides the Grand Canyon in this photo? How about at the bottom? That's right, water! That's a river called the Colorado River, and it's what carved the Grand Canyon that we know today. How did it do that? Very slowly. A long time ago, the land where the Grand Canyon is was just a big flat landscape, but then water started to flow. The water flowed over the plain, picking up little pieces of dirt and rock as it went along. The water carried this stuff from one place to another, moving it downstream. It happened just one tiny piece at a time, but over a really, really long time, it made a big difference. The natural process of dirt and rock getting picked up from one place and moved to another is called erosion. And you've probably seen it happen. Have you ever built a sandcastle at the beach and then watched as a wave crashed over it and moved the sand? The water eroded your castle. But rocks are a lot harder to break down than a sandcastle, so it takes a lot more time. A river can create something as big and breathtaking as the Grand Canyon because a river is always moving, so it's always eroding the rock. But the Grand Canyon isn't just deep, it's wide too. What makes it so wide? Erosion again, and water again. But this time, it's rainwater. When it rains, water flows down from the sides of the canyon, acting like a bunch of teeny tiny rivers, picking up more pieces of rock and making the canyon wider. Today, the Grand Canyon is almost 30 kilometers across at its widest point. That's like 30 football fields. But even with the occasional big flood or heavy rain, it still takes a really, really long time to make a canyon as long and wide and deep as the Grand Canyon. Scientists are pretty sure that the canyon started forming 5 to 6 million years ago. So erosion happens very slowly. Sometimes it happens so slowly, we can't even see it working. But sometimes we can. When you see a rock moving with the water in a stream, that's erosion. When you see a river full of muddy water, that's erosion too. All those pieces of dirt in the river are flowing with the water, moving from one place to another. And since the Colorado River is still flowing, erosion is still happening, which means the Grand Canyon is still growing, kind of like you. Thanks for joining us on SciShow Canyon.
Wave Rock of Perth is located in Australia. This landform is said to resemble a large wave and was carved into its unique shape by groundwater. Let's take a look. Take a look at these images. Do you think these pictures are of the Grand Canyon or Rock of Perth? How would you know? What makes you think that? Let's think about all we learned in the last few lessons, including today. When you're summarizing, think about what you learned about the Grand Canyon, about the rock formation in Australia, and about Mount Rushmore. Click this link to be brought to Flipgrid. And all you need to do is remember to summarize. How does water affect landforms? Answer that question. Why would a carved stone monument need protection? Answer that question. And don't forget to include all you learned about water and the Grand Canyon, water and the rock formation in Australia, and protecting rock sculptures like Mount Rushmore. Go back to the slides in order to add details to your response. Click Record a Response. You have options when you're recording. Click Options, and you can upload a file. You can use the mic only if you don't want to see your video. Use your video. You can mirror a video. You can record your screen if you would like to show something. Don't forget that you can add effects to your video and cover photo. When you're done, make sure you click Submit. And now you're done with this lesson. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this lesson.